Every time you defend yourself, you lose, even if you're right, even if your heart's pure, even if the facts are on your side. The moment you explain, justify, or prove, you hand them the sword, and they will use it. Not to understand you, not to hear your side, but to control you, to trap you in the prison of their approval, to make you shrink while they stand taller. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this centuries ago, and his advice was brutal. Never waste your energy defending yourself. It only makes you look guilty, even when you're not. Maybe, but in a world that plays dirty, only the cold survive. In the next few minutes, you'll learn something nobody teaches. The psychological trap hidden inside defending yourself. The silent power shift that happens every time you try to explain your worth. And most importantly, you'll discover Machiavelli's trick for flipping the power without saying a single word. It's dark, it's dangerous, but it's real. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let me guess. You've been there, haven't you? Someone accused you of something you didn't do, twisted your words, mocked your intentions, made you feel like the villain in a story you didn't write. And what did you do? You explained. You wrote the long message. You poured out your heart. You hoped they'd understand, but they didn't. They used your words against you, made you feel weak, made you feel small for caring. And deep down, a voice whispered, I should have said nothing. Yeah, you're not alone. Let's go deeper. When someone attacks you, insults you, questions your character, twists your words, they're not trying to understand you. They're testing you. They're probing for weakness. And in that moment, whether you realize it or not, a psychological frame battle begins. It's not about facts. It's not about who's right or wrong. It's about who controls the narrative. Let me break it down. In psychology, the frame is the invisible lens through which people see the situation. Who's the authority here? Who's leading the energy? Who's defending and who's observing? The person who sets the frame is the one in power. The person who defends within it has already lost. Think of it like this. Imagine you're accused of something ridiculous. You don't care about anyone but yourself. Now your instincts kick in. You want to clear your name. You want to say, that's not true. I've always cared. I've done this and that. But stop right there. That's the trap. Because in defending, you silently agree that their frame matters. You validate it. You legitimize their insult. And worse, you teach them that they can emotionally control you just by poking at your identity. Do you see how dangerous that is? Now they know. If I want to shake this person, I just need to question who they are. That's not communication. That's emotional blackmail in disguise. And here's the darkest part. Most people don't even do it consciously. They don't realize they're playing power games. But their subconscious knows. It knows how to dominate without appearing to. It knows how to say just enough to destabilize you without looking like the aggressor. They'll accuse you subtly. You've changed. You used to be different. You're too sensitive. Are you even listening? And suddenly, you're on trial. You're explaining. You're unraveling. You're bleeding. And they're watching. Like nothing happened. That's dark psychology in its purest form. Turning your own mind against you. Making you do the work of destroying yourself. But once you recognize the pattern, you take back the power. And that leads us to the tools, the mental weapons Machiavelli would want you to wield. Let's sharpen your mind. This world doesn't reward the loudest. It rewards the most composed. The one who can stay calm while everyone else loses their mind. That's the one who wins. So let me give you the expanded version of the 3. Machiavellian self-defense. Laws that flip the power instantly without ever defending yourself. Law 1. Never explain. Control the frame. Explanation is weakness. Not because the truth isn't important, but because truth doesn't need to be explained to those who already respect you. Let me say that again. If someone already respects you, they won't demand an explanation. If someone doesn't respect you, no explanation will ever be enough. So stop trying to be understood by people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Machiavelli taught that the frame is more powerful than facts. Whoever defines the situation controls the outcome, so when someone challenges you, don't argue, don't beg, don't perform. Instead, return fire with silence, or if needed, respond in a way that ignores the bait entirely. Here's a practical example. They say, "You're acting selfish." You say nothing. You keep your posture. You look them in the eyes. You offer no reaction. That's silence. That's stillness. It's deafening. Why? Because now they're alone with their own words. And people hate that. They wanted a reaction. They wanted control. You gave them nothing. And in that void, they start to question themselves. That's power. Law 2, attack the frame, not the claim. Here's where most people get played. They attack the accusation, thinking that's the battleground. Wrong. The real war is over who gets to define the situation. Let me give you a real-world example. Say someone calls you toxic. Most people would say, "What, I'm not toxic. Too late. You're fighting inside their narrative. But if you're Machiavellian, you don't touch the label. You attack why they're using that label at all. You say, "That's an interesting word to use. What are you trying to avoid by calling me that?" Boom. Now they're the one under the microscope. You've made their motive the subject, not your character. You see, you don't have to defend who you are if you make them defend why they're playing judge. That's how you shift power, without shouting. You don't block the punch. You let it swing, and then pull the ground out from under them. Law 3, let your presence be the proof. You don't need to argue with small minds. You just need to outlive them, outgrow them, outperform them. People will say things about you. Let them project, let them gossip, let them write your obituary in their mind, because time reveals all truth, and silence, it ages like wine. People who attacked you today will one day wonder, why didn't they fight back? Why didn't they care what I said? And the answer is simple. You were too focused on becoming. Machiavelli wrote, "Men should be either crushed or left alone." When you try to defend yourself, you give them something to fight with. When you ignore them, you starve them. They shrink. You rise, and the best part, you never raised your voice. You just moved in silence, like a shadow behind the throne. So here's the mindset to when they insult you, remain still. When they bait you, shift the spotlight back on them. When they lie about you, let time whisper the truth louder than their voice ever could. That's psychological dominance, rooted in calm, forged in darkness, crowned in silence. Because when you stop defending yourself and start mastering yourself, the world stops seeing you as someone who reacts and starts seeing you as someone who rules. There's a moment in every warrior's life when they realize that not all battles are worth fighting, especially the ones built on lies. The strongest power is not defending your name, but living in such a way that your presence exposes their lies without a single word. That's the art. That's the real revenge. And as Machiavelli once whispered between shadows, a wise man does not need to be believed. He only needs to be obeyed. Don't explain who you are. Be so silent that they're forced to confront it on their own. That's power. That's control. That's the game. If this truth hit you deep, if you've ever been burned by the need to explain yourself, then maybe it's time to stop playing their game and start mastering your own. This channel is your sanctuary, a place where dark psychology becomes your armor and wisdom becomes your weapon. So if you're ready to walk the silent path, like, subscribe, and walk with us, because in a world full of noise, the man who learns to stay silent becomes the storm.